She walked into the lobby like anyone else. No entourage. No designer heels. No fancy luggage. Just a plain black hoodie and a reservation in her name. But the moment the hotel manager saw her, he crossed his arms and said, "You don't belong here." What he didn't know, in exactly 5 minutes, she'd own the building, and he'd be out of a job. If that moment made your blood boil, stick around. This isn't fiction, it's a reckoning. Hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and let's walk through what happens when a quiet woman becomes a revolution. The words rang out like a verdict. You're not welcome here. This is a private property, not a shelter. They weren't whispered. They weren't said in hesitation. They were pronounced loud and slow. For everyone in the upscale lobby of the Sterling Regent Hotel in downtown Chicago to hear, behind the marble front desk, Raymond Ellis, the hotel's operations supervisor, stood with his arms folded and a smirk blooming like mold across his face. He didn't blink when he said it, didn't glance around for support. He was proud of it. In front of him stood a black woman in a charcoal hoodie, faded jeans, and walking shoes. No makeup, no suitcase, just one hand in her pocket and another holding a phone. She looked up slowly, blinking once. Raymond's voice got sharper. "If you don't leave right now, I'll call building security and have you escorted out." Guests around the lobby fell into a hushed silence. Some lowered their eyes, others stared, a few subtly reached for their phones. They had seen things like this online, but never live. What Raymond didn't know, what he couldn't imagine, is that the woman standing silently across the front desk was not lost, not trespassing, and definitely not someone to dismiss. In exactly 5 minutes, this woman would make a call that would flip Raymond's entire career inside out. But we'll get there. Let's rewind to 4 minutes earlier. Her name was Maya Brooks. She walked into the Sterling Regent without fanfare. No assistant, no luggage cart, no grand entrance. Just confidence that didn't need to announce itself. Her eyes scanned the space with quiet precision. Everything here was polished, from the gold trim on the concierge desk to the thick velvet rope at the VIP check-in counter. She took it in with the calm of someone who'd seen it all before. The woman behind the desk, Tiffany Carson, 32, crisp bun. Sharper blazer didn't smile when Maya approached. Instead, she exchanged a quick glance with Raymond, who was just coming out from the back office. They both looked Maya up and down, in the way only people in power believe they have the right to. "Can I help you?" Tiffany asked, her tone already tight. Maya replied evenly, "I have a reservation. The executive floor. Name's Brooks." There was a short pause, just long enough to register disbelief. Raymond leaned in. "I think you might be lost. The public lobby's downstairs. This is private access." Maya offered no reaction. She reached into her jacket and produced a slim, black card and ID. Her expression didn't change. Even as Tiffany hesitated to take them, Raymond raised his eyebrows. "That's a metal card. Pretty flashy. You sure this is yours?" That's when a soft chime came from Tiffany's screen. She tapped, froze, then whispered, "Ray, she's in the system. It says VIP override, executive level access." Raymond looked over her shoulder, then looked back at Maya. He chuckled, but it wasn't amused. It was a smirk wrapped in denial. "That can't be right. Let me double-check." He grabbed the card, holding it between 2 fingers like it might be contaminated, and turned away toward the back room. Maya's eyes didn't follow him. She calmly pulled out her phone, opened a messaging app, and typed one word. Now, on the 34th floor of a corporate tower across the city, her assistant, Dina Miles, saw the message and took a deep breath. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She knew what to do. Down in the hotel lobby, Tiffany was stalling. "We've just had some trouble with false bookings, people using cloned cards. I'm sure you understand. It's standard protocol to double-check, especially for someone." She trailed off. Maya tilted her head. "Someone like me." Tiffany flushed. "I didn't mean it that way." Maya's voice didn't rise, but it cut like glass. "You meant it exactly that way. And in the corner of the lobby, near a faux fireplace." A teenager in sweats and headphones nudged her older sister. "Record this," she whispered. "I think something big's about to happen." Her sister, already pulling out her phone, nodded. Already on TikTok Live. The moment Raymond stepped into the staff-only corridor with Maya's card in hand, Dina Miles pressed send. In a blink, 4 internal systems at the Sterling Regent went red. Guest management, staff credentialing, payment verification. All locked, but in the lobby, Maya said nothing. Tiffany fidgeted behind the desk. "It's just, we've had some issues with fraud lately, so we're being extra cautious by holding my ID and card hostage," Maya asked, her voice smooth, like she'd practiced patience her whole life. Tiffany blinked. "Just protocol. I swear." Maya nodded once. "Then let's follow protocol. Return my property." Before Tiffany could respond, Raymond reappeared, this time holding the card with 2 fingers like it was radioactive. "I've contacted security," he said. "Until we verify the card with your bank. We're keeping it locked. You'll have to wait outside." A guest near the elevators turned sharply, muttering, "What the hell?" Maya tilted her head. "You're stealing my card." Raymond folded his arms. "I'm protecting hotel assets." From across the lobby, a woman's voice rang out. "That's not protecting anything. That's profiling." Phones lifted like weapons in a modern war. 3 more guests began recording. Maya was no longer alone. Raymond noticed. He turned his back, reaching beneath the desk for a brushed steel lockbox. He dropped the card inside, slammed it shut. "This is outrageous," said a man in business casual, standing near the concierge bar. "She gave you ID. You're not the cops." Tiffany gave a quick, nervous smile. "It's just temporary. We'll resolve it." Maya didn't flinch. She pressed her earpiece. "Dina, update." Dina's voice came through crystal clear. "All systems locked. Internal securities flagged the incident. Live feed initiated." Tiffany's eyes widened. What did she just say? Raymond stepped forward again. "You're disrupting operations. I need you to vacate the lobby." Maya's reply was calm. "You're making assumptions based on my clothes, my skin, and your fear." Raymond scoffed. "I don't care what color you are. You don't walk in here flashing a luxury card and expect no questions. But you do when it's a white man in golf shorts," Maya said. Silence. Then from the corner, a college student in a flannel shirt shouted, "She's right. I checked in here last week in flip-flops, and no one asked me for ID." Raymond's face twitched. The phones kept rolling. And then Tiffany, panicked, whispered to Raymond, "Something's happening with the system. It just froze me out of guest access." Raymond leaned over, typing rapidly. My login's not working." Maya stepped closer. "You should have verified my reservation. Instead, you verified your bias." Another guest chimed in. "What's your name, ma'am? We're gonna support you on this." "Maya Brooks," she said, and at that exact second, the concierge phone behind Tiffany lit up. She answered, voice shaking. "This is Tiffany." Her face blanched. "Yes, she's here." She turned to Raymond. "It's Central Operations. They're asking for her." Maya reached for the phone, took it slowly. "This is Maya." A pause, then a smile. "Yes? Authorize it now." The phone call lasted exactly 10 seconds. When Maya hung up, Tiffany looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What did they say?" Raymond demanded. Maya didn't answer. She turned toward the lobby, now fully awake and buzzing like a beehive. Guests had gathered, not as spectators but as silent witnesses. You could feel the shift in the air. Raymond's eyes narrowed. "This is harassment. You're trying to make us look bad. You made yourself look bad." Maya replied, her tone sharper now. Just then, the elevator behind the front desk dinged open. A man in a dark navy suit stepped out. Clean-shaven, mid-50s, hotel security badge clipped to his chest. He didn't speak to Maya. He walked straight to Tiffany and Raymond. "I'm Greg Simmons," he said coldly. "Corporate security liaison." "Step away from the desk." Raymond blinked. "I beg your pardon," I said. Greg repeated. "Step away from the desk." Tiffany moved instantly. Raymond didn't. What the hell is this? Greg turned to Maya, nodding once. She gave a nod in return, and with that tiny gesture, everything snapped into motion. Greg faced the now silent lobby. To all guests, he began, voice like a news anchor. We apologize for the disturbance. Miss Brooks is not only a verified guest of this hotel, she is part of our corporate ownership group. Gasps rippled across the room. Raymond's mouth dropped open. You're joking, he said. Greg turned back to him. I'm not, and your behavior is under review effective immediately. Tiffany swayed slightly, grabbing the edge of the desk for balance. Maya took 2 steps forward, her voice calm but unrelenting. I gave you every chance. I told you my name. I provided ID. You chose to escalate. You chose to humiliate. Raymond's eyes flicked toward Greg. This is a misunderstanding. No, Maya said. This is what systemic bias looks like when it thinks no one's watching. From her earpiece, Dina's voice came again. Corporate is watching, and so is the internet. You're going viral. Maya looked directly at Raymond. You locked up my card. You questioned my presence. You called security on a black woman with a valid reservation and VIP override clearance, Greg added. And you did it in front of at least 14 recording guests. Phones were still raised. A teenager muttered, This is better than anything on Netflix right now. Maya turned to Tiffany. Do you remember what you said to me when I checked in? Tiffany looked down. I was just doing my job. No, Maya said. You were doing what you thought you could get away with. And now your job is over. Greg didn't hesitate. Effective immediately. Both of you are suspended. Turn in your badges. Raymond refused to move. I've worked here 12 years. This is insane. Maya met his eye. What's insane is that in 12 years, no one held you accountable until now. Tiffany removed her badge with trembling hands. Raymond still refused. This isn't how it works. Maya nodded to Greg. He still won't listen. Finalize it. Greg reached into his coat, produced a sealed envelope, and handed it across the desk. Raymond Ellis, your employment is terminated. Effective now. Your conduct has violated Horizon Equity Guidelines and guest protections. This has been logged and documented for legal review. Raymond stood frozen, face drained of blood. Maya turned once more to the lobby. I didn't come here to fire anyone, she said. I came here for a reservation. But when someone shows you exactly who they are, you believe them. Raymond didn't move. Not when the envelope touched his chest. Not when Tiffany stepped away from the desk in defeat. Not even when several guests began whispering his name like it was a headline. He just stood there frozen in the center of a lobby that no longer belonged to him. Greg turned to Maya. Would you like me to escort him out? Maya shook her head. No, let him walk himself out. Let everyone watch. That stung more than any raised voice ever could. Raymond finally stepped back from the desk. The envelope still clutched in his hand like a lifeline already cut. One man near the elevator muttered, Good, another woman added. Took long enough. Raymond didn't make eye contact with anyone as he walked towards the glass doors. The sound of his own footsteps echoed like thunder. Maya turned to Tiffany. You're not being escorted out today. But I expect a full written statement submitted to HR within 24 hours. Tiffany nodded, eyes still low. Yes, ma'am. The moment the doors closed behind Raymond, a spontaneous round of clapping broke out, not loud, not mocking, but affirming. Maya didn't acknowledge it. She wasn't here for applause. She looked at Greg. I need a full audit of this property. Staff conduct logs, internal complaint summaries. Guest resolution history, the works. Greg nodded. Already initiated. Good, Maya replied. Because this wasn't an isolated incident. The college student who'd spoken earlier raised his hand sheepishly. Can I say something? Maya gestured. Go ahead. He stepped forward. Last month, my mom checked in here. She's disabled and walks with a cane. The desk guy made her stand while he verified her reservation. Never even offered her a seat. We thought it was just, one rude employee. Maya's voice was even. It never is. From the far side of the lobby, another voice called out, I complained about front desk treatment 3 months ago. Got a "we'll look into it" email and never heard back. "Same here," said a man in a sharp suit. "They flagged my card as fraudulent because I used a travel agency. They didn't question the 2 white guests ahead of me using the same service." Greg glanced at Maya. "It's a pattern." "No," Maya said. "It's a culture, and we're about to dismantle it." She turned back to the guests. "Every single complaint that's been ignored, buried, or dismissed will be reopened. If you've ever felt mistreated here, we want to hear from you." Someone in the back shouted, "Where do we send it?" Maya raised her phone. "Email. Reform Sterling Group. Come. Include dates, names, screenshots if you have them. No detail is too small." A guest near the fireplace clapped again, this time slower. Others joined in not as fans, but as people who had waited too long to be heard. Maya looked at the crowd, then back at Greg. This hotel is about to learn what equity really means. And across the country, in boardrooms, in message threads, in newsrooms that would pick this story up within the hour, a reckoning had already begun. For the first time since entering the lobby, Maya stepped behind the front desk, not as a guest, but as someone reclaiming what should have never been misused. Tiffany instinctively stepped aside. Eyes down, Maya said nothing to her. She didn't have to. The silence carried its own weight. Greg opened the admin console. "The system's still locked for most staff, but you've got full back-end access." Maya glanced at the screen. "Good. First step. I want every guest who booked today to receive a personal check-in from Elena Reyes." "Elena?" Greg asked. Surprise. "The junior concierge." Maya nodded. "She stood up once before. I want her voice front and center." Greg raised an eyebrow. "You saw the footage." "I saw everything," Maya replied. "She's the kind of employee we need more of." In the background, Elena had just stepped into the lobby, holding a clipboard, unaware of what she was walking into. When she saw Maya behind the desk, her eyes went wide. "Ma'am, I didn't know you were—" "You knew enough," Maya said. "You spoke up when others didn't." Elena blinked, stunned. "You're now acting guest experience manager," Maya continued, effective immediately. Gasps rippled again, this time joyful. Elena looked at Greg. "Is this real?" Greg smiled. "It is if she says it is." One guest clapped, another cheered softly. And just like that, the energy in the lobby changed again from fury to hope. Tiffany quietly excused herself, disappearing into the back. Maya turned to Elena. "I want you to speak to every guest in this lobby. Find out who felt ignored, overlooked, or dismissed. Document it all. This is your operation now." Elena's voice was barely above a whisper. "Yes, ma'am." "And," Maya added, "I need your help rebuilding this hotel from the inside out. No more shadows. No more secrets." Greg added, "We'll need to notify regional leadership about the transitions." Maya handed him a folder. "Already done. These are the signed directives. Full ownership override authorized this morning." Greg scanned the front page. His jaw tightened. "You came prepared." "No," Maya said. "I came fed up." At that moment, Sophie Grant, a freelance journalist who'd been sitting quietly with her tablet, stood up and approached. "I've been live blogging this since the confrontation began," she said. "Would you be willing to comment on record?" Maya looked at her. Calm. "This hotel just found out what happens when you ignore the wrong guest. You lose your staff, your reputation, and your silence." Sophie nodded. "That's going to be a headline." Elena added softly, "It's going to be a warning." Maya turned back to the front desk monitor, because this wasn't about going viral. It was about going forward with truth, transparency, and the kind of leadership that didn't hide behind uniforms and protocols, and the world had just started paying attention. By early evening, the lobby of the Sterling Regent looked less like a hotel and more like a civic assembly. Elena moved gracefully through the crowd, clipboard in hand, speaking to guests with a calm clarity that made even the angriest voices feel heard. Maya stood at the center, listening as complaints, stories, and silent nods of solidarity unfolded around her. She wasn't speaking much anymore. She didn't have to. Her presence alone was louder than any press conference. Then her phone buzzed. Dina's voice came through immediately. Media's all over this. You're trending in 3 cities. Morning shows are already drafting coverage. Twitter, Reddit, and LinkedIn have the video from 4 different angles. Maya didn't even blink. Let them talk. Just make sure they get it right. Already sent them the press kit and the official incident report. Greg's statement is in 2. Maya glanced at Greg, who stood quietly nearby coordinating hotel security and access reconfiguration. Tell Carla to prep a public equity initiative plan by morning. We're not just reacting. We're launching something new. Dina was already typing. We calling it Sterling Standard. No, Maya said. We're calling it Day Zero. Greg raised an eyebrow. Why? Because, Maya replied. For this hotel, and every guest who walked through it and felt less than today, is the day everything resets. She walked toward the fire pit lounge area where a young woman in scrubs sat alone, arms crossed, clearly waiting to be acknowledged. Maya approached gently. Hi, my name's Maya. The woman looked up, eyes guarded. I know who you are. I saw the stream. I didn't think anyone like you actually existed. I shouldn't be the exception, Maya said softly. What happened to you? The woman paused. Then, slowly, last time I stayed here, I asked for extra towels. They told me I'd have to wait because the premium guests had priority. Maya's brow furrowed. I was on a break between 16-hour shifts, the woman added. I was the only black guest on my floor. Maya nodded. Thank you for telling me. It didn't feel like enough to complain, the woman admitted. But it stayed with me. Maya crouched to her eye level. It always stays, and it always matters. She handed the woman a card with a private feedback line printed in silver. This goes straight to my desk. As Maya stood to return to the desk, applause gently broke out again. Not as celebration, but as recognition. Guests weren't cheering for drama. They were acknowledging something rare. Power being used to lift others, not crush them. And then came the voice from the entrance, a voice that twisted the air. Just slightly, Mrs. Brooks. She turned, a tall man in a pinstripe suit, hair slicked back, carrying a corporate badge and a forced smile, stepped forward. I'm Arthur Maddox, Regional Executive Liaison. I'd like to speak with you privately. Maya didn't budge. You can speak here. Arthur hesitated. Some of the decisions made today suspensions. Firings, they fall outside the usual disciplinary flow. They fall inside my authority, Maya replied. Fully authorized, fully documented, and fully irreversible. Arthur offered a tight laugh. Of course, I'm not here to reverse anything. I'm just here to protect the brand. Maya's tone cooled. Then start by acknowledging what happened here. Arthur's smile didn't reach his eyes. Let's not escalate things with unnecessary headlines. Too late. Because this story wasn't waiting for permission. It was already rewriting itself. Maya didn't flinch. She stepped closer to Arthur Maddox and repeated, voice sharp and unwavering, acknowledge what happened here. Arthur's fake smile dropped a degree. I wasn't here to witness the incident firsthand. You've seen the footage. Maya interrupted. I've reviewed some of it. He hedged, eyes darting toward the phones still filming from all angles. Then, say it, Maya said. Say what happened. Arthur glanced around the room. Too many eyes, too many ears. No room to spin this quietly. I acknowledge that a mistake was made. Maya folded her arms. A mistake? Is that what you call locking up a black woman's card? Denying her service and trying to remove her from her own hotel. Arthur sighed. Miss Brooke, say it clearly. Maya snapped, because the brand you're here to protect only survives if it admits the truth. The silence was thick. Finally, Arthur relented. A member of our team acted with clear bias, he said stiffly. They humiliated a guest, and that guest was the owner. Maya didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She simply turned to the guests and repeated it louder. You heard him. A team member acted with bias. They humiliated a guest, and that guest was the owner. The phones caught it. The internet amplified it. Arthur looked like he might vanish into his own soup. Greg stepped forward. Arthur, you'll want to review the Day Zero directive, Miss. Brooks initiated it under full equity compliance terms. I've seen it, Arthur muttered. Then you'll know it includes full transparency. Property by property. Maya added. I want every Horizon property in the country reviewed. Complaints reopened. Staff retrained. Publicly. Arthur flinched. Publicly, yes, Maya said. Privately is how it became this broken. A guest from the lounge called out. Say it again. Maya did. Privately is how it became this broken. Arthur finally gave in. Then you have my support. I don't need it. Maya replied coolly. I need your compliance. The crowd cheered this time louder than before, not for show, but because truth had landed like thunder. Arthur stepped back, defeated but nodding. You'll have everything you need. Maya turned to Elena. Schedule day 0. Town hall tomorrow morning. Staff and guests invited. No scripts, no optics, just the truth. Elena wrote it down. What time? 9 a.m., Maya said. Make it mandatory. This is no longer a hotel. It's ground zero for accountability. Then Maya looked at Greg. Start preparing the guest follow-up team. Every person who was ever dismissed here gets a call back. We don't bury anything. Not anymore. From the crowd, a teenage girl whispered to her mom. She's not just fixing a hotel. She's fixing the whole game. Maya heard it. And for the first time all day, she smiled. The next morning at 9:00 a.m. sharp, the Sterling Regent lobby didn't feel like a hotel anymore. It felt like a town hall. Rows of chairs had been pulled in from conference rooms. Guests sat alongside housekeepers, bellmen, concierge staff, even maintenance engineers. Everyone wore the same look, alert, curious, cautious. No uniforms, no title, just people. At the front, Maya stood beside Elena and Greg. There was no podium, no mic, just a woman in a plain black blazer holding a folder labeled Day 0. Maya took a breath. When I walked in here yesterday, I was just another guest, no special entrance, no entourage. And I watched how quickly the system assumed I didn't belong. She let that hang. It wasn't new, it wasn't shocking, but it was still wrong. And this time, I wasn't going to walk away. She turned to the crowd. I've been the overlooked guest, the one flagged for unusual payment, the one asked for extra ID when others weren't. But I'm also the owner now. Murmurs moved through the crowd like a current. And this building, this company, this industry will not survive by pretending hospitality is a smile. It's a standard, and the standard changes today. Elena stepped up beside her. We're reopening every ignored complaint. We're creating a guest equity panel. We'll track resolutions publicly, not just internally. Greg added, we've already terminated 3 employees, not for making one mistake, but for building patterns out of assumptions. Maya nodded. If you've ever witnessed or experienced bias at this property, come forward. There will be no punishment, no silence. Just space to speak and people ready to listen. From the back, a woman in housekeeping uniform stood. My first week here, I watched a white guest scream at a colleague. Management apologized to him. But when I asked to take a break afterward, I was written up for loitering. Z. Elena took notes immediately. Thank you. Log. Then, a man in a maintenance jacket raised his hand. A few of us saw security ignore calls when black guests were harassed in the elevator. One even got locked out of their room. Maya's tone didn't change. We'll review every file, and if security fail, they're gone. Greg confirmed. Footage is being pulled. More hands rose. More voices filled the air. Some small stories, some huge, all real. Arthur Maddox stood quietly in the corner, silent, watching the culture shift faster than any corporate meeting ever had. When the testimonies slowed, Maya stepped forward again. This is the new standard. You don't get to claim excellence while burying harm. And no guest should have to be famous or powerful to be treated with dignity. Applause rose, not chaotic, but measured, firm, the kind that didn't fade fast. Maya turned to Elena. This is yours now. Day 0 isn't about me. It's about what comes after. Elena looked out at the room, her team, her guests, her future. We begin again, together, And as the crowd stood, not because someone told them to, but because they wanted to, Maya knew. It wasn't just a reset, it was a revolution. Maya, Brooks never raised her voice. She didn't slam her fists, she didn't demand recognition. She simply refused to shrink, and in doing so, she forced an entire system to grow, because justice doesn't always arrive with sirens or slogans. Sometimes, it walks through the front door, in sneakers and silence, and leaves a legacy written in policy, not apology. This wasn't just about a hotel lobby. It was about every space where people are made to feel small, every moment when silence could have been complicity. But someone chose courage instead. And now, the Sterling Regent isn't just a luxury hotel. It's a blueprint for what happens when power meets accountability, when truth is louder than protocol. If this story moved you, don't let it stop here. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and follow us for more stories where justice walks in quietly, but never walks out alone.